If there's one thing that you can't deny about tennis, it's that when emotions rise, things can get pretty heated on the court. But you know what's more intense than those racket-smashing meltdowns? 2 words: press conferences. From forcefully kissing a reporter to asking a journalist to resign, these are the most intense press conferences in tennis history. And we gotta start with this guy that did something so crazy, he got banned from the French Open. At number 10, Maxime Hamou. Now, just in case you're wondering who he is, Maxime is a French tennis player that made the headlines back in 2017 for all the wrong reasons. You see, after his French Open loss to Pablo Cuevas, the 21-year-old was interviewed by reporter Mally Thomas. You know, just to ask him a few questions about the match and all that. But what happened next went down as the sickest thing that has ever happened in tennis history. For some reason, Maxime decided to kiss Mally, even though she clearly wanted no part of it. But that didn't stop the French from going in for a second kiss on her cheek, and then another one on her neck. Now, the reporter let it slide because, according to her, she was live on air. But you know who didn't let it slide? The French Open. After the video of Maxime went viral, the French Tennis Federation decided to revoke Maxime's accreditation and then ban him from the tournament. Damn. Now that went south faster than one of Nadal's killer serves. And speaking of Nadal, the King of Clay doesn't just bring the heat to the court, he also brings it to his press conferences. At number 9, Rafael Nadal. Back in 2016, France's former Minister for Health and Sport, Roselyne Bachelot, went on a French show called Les Grand 8 and accused the King of Clay of using performance-enhancing drugs to get an advantage over his opponents on court. And to make matters worse, she went on to say that the Spaniard's 7-month injury break back in 2012 was probably due to a positive doping test. Now this was where Rafa lost it. He held a press conference and it was clear that Nadal was furious. And when you think about it, he had every right to be, especially because the Spaniard had overlooked multiple doping accusations in the past. He just let them roll off his back. But this one was definitely the last straw. In the press conference, Nadal made it crystal clear that he was going to defend his name and his entire career in court. So, the King of Clay clapped back with a 10,000 € lawsuit against Bachelot in Paris. And after winning the case, the 22-time Grand Slam winner donated all of the cash that he made from the lawsuit to a foundation in France. Now that's how you handle a hater, because if we're being honest, that French minister was just hating. But you want to know what's more intense than a Nadal press conference? Attacking the Williams sisters on live television. At number 8, the Williams sisters. It's no news that Serena has had a track record of having nasty outbursts on court. I mean, her 2009 US Open meltdown has to be one of tennis's most intense moments. It was so bad, it cost her the tournament. After losing to Kim Clijsters and getting slammed with a $10,000 fine for unsportsmanlike conduct, Serena went on to win the double tournament with her sister Venus that same year. And during their press conference, things didn't just get intense, it also got pretty awkward. It all started when one of the journalists decided to refer back to her meltdown at the US Open, and then went on to suggest that the American had anger issues. Now, Serena was trying so hard to keep her composure in check, so she just let it slide and stated that she was only going to address questions about the doubles. But you see, the journalist didn't stop. If there's one thing you have to love about the Williams sisters, it's the way they always got each other's back. So when Venus saw that Serena was clearly uncomfortable with the questions, she decided to help out. And this is where things got heated. The journalist tried to shut Venus up, but the Williams sister wasn't going to have it. Venus clapped back immediately and asked the journalist why he was getting aggressive. At this point, the guy couldn't say a word, because Venus was standing her ground. Talk about sister power. But this isn't the first time Venus has had an intense press conference. At number 7, Venus Williams. You see, after Venus and her tennis partner Jamie Murray won their first round of mixed doubles in 2022, a tennis journalist threw a dumb question at the pair. And like you would expect, the Williams sister clapped back faster than lightning. You see, after their win, Venus and Jamie sat down for a press conference, and a journalist asked them if they were in it to win it, or if they were just trying to get past the third round where their siblings Serena and Andy were knocked out in 2019. Venus didn't take kindly to the question, and replied, "What kind of question is that? We're in it for a stroll, come on." And if we're being honest, that's a pretty lame question, come on. Well, at least she didn't walk out of the press conference like the following guy. At number 6, Andy Roddick. On a regular day, Roddick is a good guy, but sometimes even good guys have bad days. For the American, one of those days was when he was knocked out of the 2011 China Open in the opening round. And as if losing wasn't enough, one of the tennis journalists tried to get on Andy's nerves during the post-match press conference, when he asked him how long it'd take him to retire. To make matters worse, the journalist went on to compare him to Roger Federer, and this is where Roddick lost his cool. The 2003 Grand Slam winner fired back and asked the journalist to retire just before he got up and walked out on everyone at the press conference. Now that escalated quickly. Anyways, while Roddick doesn't have enough patience to sit back and listen to annoying reporters, Roger Federer definitely knows how to put them in their place. At number 5, Roger Federer. Back in 2016, when Federer lost to Djokovic in the semifinals of the Australian Open, the Swiss lost his cool after one of the reporters tried to play a fast one by asking a lame question. The reporter asked him whether Djokovic would have been more dominant if he had faced a tougher opponent. Now, while this would get to a lot of folks out there, it pissed Roger off real bad. Because, let's face it, Federer is the kind of player that values his competition, so it's no wonder that question threw him over the edge. After glaring back at the reporter, Federer said this: "You've got to be careful how you phrase the question. You don't want to be rude to the other players. I don't have to face them, you have to face them. I don't ask them stupid questions like that." Damn, now that's a violation. Well, at least it was well-deserved, because sometimes even a congratulations can set a press conference on fire. I mean, take this conference for instance. At number 4, Nicolas Mahut. You're probably wondering why a simple congratulations would get an entire press conference so intense. But imagine getting congratulated after losing your first match at the biggest tournament of your career. Now you might see why Mahut was glaring daggers at the journalist after he got knocked out of the French Open by Mikhail Kukushkin. After the match, Nico had to face the press as usual, and unfortunately, the first question was from an English-speaking journalist that innocently congratulated him. A pissed Mahut snapped at the journalist, who was completely lost at this point. And hey, to be fair, he didn't watch the match, so he had no idea that the French player didn't win. Anyways, if we're being real, we can't talk about intense press conferences without mentioning the press conference that made Garbiñe Muguruza cry. At number 3, Garbiñe Muguruza. If we're being honest, losing sucks. And after Garbiñe lost the finals of the 2017 French Open to Kristina Mladenovic, the post-match conference was not just intense, it was an emotional roller coaster. Because while Garbiñe isn't a stranger to tough losses, this one was especially traumatic because the French crowd was very mean to her. You know, all the boos and stuff. But it wasn't until that match that the Spaniard completely broke down in tears. It was so bad that she had to take 5 to get her emotions together. And speaking of emotions, we've gotta talk about Nick Kyrgios' press conference. Only this time, that emotion was anger. Or maybe he was just being rude. At number 2, Nick Kyrgios. It all went down after he won the first round of Wimbledon in 2022. You see, it's no news that Nick is notorious for being a bad boy. So after being a jerk to literally everyone on the court, the Aussie bad boy went on to finish what he had started in the post-match press conference. Because when he was asked about his on-court behavior, he started spitting fire at the journalist, talking about how he was disrespected by the fans and how he's certainly not the only player that loses his cool on court. And to top it all off, this guy was eating sushi like he didn't care during the interview. Anyways, once a bad boy, always a bad boy. And now that we're down to number 1, you can bet we saved the best for last. At number 1, Novak Djokovic. After Novak got disqualified from the 2016 US Open for hitting a line woman in the throat with a ball, he had to do a press conference. And get this, the journalists were not making it easy for him even after he apologized. The journalist started by asking the Serbian if he was concerned about his on-court tantrums and how he could have caused irreversible damage. But the former world number 1, on the other hand, felt like the press were just trying to pick on him. So this resulted in a heated argument that ended with the Serbian walking out of the interview. So there you have it, folks. For most players, press conferences are just another part of tennis that pushes the limits of a player's patience. Which of these press conferences do you find the most intense? Let us know down in the comments. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to learn more interesting things about your favorite tennis players.